So 3 big questions. Best exercise of 23, biggest disappointment of 23, which is obviously talking for me, and biggest takeaway of 23. Who wants to go first for their best exercise of 2023?
You go first.
Me?
Yeah,
All right. So you want the technical version or you want the...
We'll dive into it.
Dive into it. So a bilateral, prone, standing, lat pull down.
Yeah.
You know, we've been trying it. We've tried it.
We like it?
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
We've
Why?
had lots of questions about it.
Why? Paul?
Like
Bilateral, feet on the ground. You can go split stance.
Underhand, overhand.
Underhand, overhand, wide grip, anything you want. It's really hard for someone to extend through their lower back. You can actually get them back in that RDL position to open up some space through the back of the pelvis. If you're trying to get one side more, you can put them in a split stance, put one foot in front of the other, which is going to put them in a little bit more flexion, a little bit more IR, great range of motion, use load, teach them how to either find their heels or their toes. Good exercise.
Bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck. And you can go single arm as well.
What's going on?
Lots going on.
Who wouldn't you give it to?
Ooh. Who wouldn't I give that to? I wouldn't kick anyone out of that one. I reckon most people will be able to do that.
Have benefits from different.
Even someone that really sucks with shoulder flexion, you're in a position where they're going to find range of motion. And it's going to help open up shoulder blades so you can have that separation between the shoulder blades, that protraction, upward rotation, all the good things that we need.
Interesting.
So that's my exercise 2023. You can steal it, use it, don't like it.
Would you prescribe what handle you use basically based on range of motion?
Yeah.
Range of motion, what the end goal of the exercise is. Also the level of shoulder flexion.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to open up someone that's really tight through that mid-thoracic range, you want to get their arms above that 90-degree range of motion.
Yeah.
Someone that's a little bit restricted upper body, you're probably not going to give it to, because you need to actually get them to open up through that upper shoulder girdle first before you start getting, because they won't have much shoulder flexion at all.
Yeah.
What do we got?
I'd a couple.
Couple.
I like 2. So I like the side plank. I love the side plank.
What do you like a side plank?
I love the side plank. I'm a big fan of side plank.
What's the side plank do that you love?
Well, I've been using it as a corrective exercise mostly. But when I cue, so lots of anterior serratus, so just really drive an elbow hard into the floor first, before even coming up onto either knees or feet, basically. It's shoulder corrective. It works wonders for me. Movement, hip extension, hip flexion. Yeah, it's all dependent on
Lots of big bang stuff.
Yeah.
And someone that's really squashed front to back, you can get that compression on the outside and start to drive air forwards and backwards in the rib cage.
Yeah.
You can cue someone into like a bent knee split stance position, so you're looking at flexion and extension through the hips. So yeah.
Yeah, big fan.
Big fan.
That and 90-90 lat pull downs.
Where'd you get that one from?
So you do them all the time.
Oh, it's been helping me
Yeah.
a lot. My hips gone back to being silly. That's the appropriate word.
Because you've got the mobility of a house brick.
Yeah.
So what do you like about, or where'd you steal it from?
You.
So that was one we used for Heather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big fan. I'm only using it for one side though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll turn around, do a lap pull and through the other side, but my hip extension, hip extension and flexion stay the same. So I'll be right foot forward. Big fan. You get oblique through that too.
You do?
Yeah.
Especially in a bent knee position.
Yeah.
Like most people that can't find abs and side planks, you give them a bent knee position, get them to roll that top hip over a little bit, and they got oblique straight away. Instead of QL.
On both sides too, like you're pressing down to the floor on the other side.
Yep.
And ripping down, actually crunching into the other side.
Yep.
You go IR through the shoulder, depending on where you're sitting in relation to the cable too. I'm a big fan. Big fan of that. Big fan.
Scotty, big bang for buck exercise.
I have developed a fondness for split stance variations this year.
Yep.
I think I can get a lot of just general body awareness and positions out of people relatively easy without them having to think too much.
Yeah.
By placing weights in certain positions, pauses in certain positions, and where I put their foot. And even with mirrors, they can kind of move themselves around in 5 positions and then transfer them across to other exercises quicker than I have been able to without that.
Yeah, it's another one of those big bang for buck ones. So feet side by side is great, but as soon as you put someone in a split stance, the body's working different dynamics.
Exactly, yeah.
For some reason, I just rest your mate.
Support heart rate drops.
He's like, there, friend.
Confidence scale.
Take a deep breath. It's a bit funny. Instead of that.
Any other big exercise?
Look, that's probably my favourite. Taking weight off people's shoulders as well is something that I think works a lot better than I thought it would a couple of months ago, or at least 12 months ago. Generally speaking, I think people can find positions a lot better when they're in a more comfortable position, and then the body awareness they get from that position carries over a lot better than just trying to cue them into position in a more in a less comfortable and less a position that they're not in as often.
Yeah, and it's less forced too. Like, you can find someone in a split stance pretty comfortably.
Yeah.
You don't really have to spend 15 minutes explaining what they're doing.
Yeah.
You get really good carryover for it. And I think there's definitely value for taking away the compressive on the spine all the time. Because old school is like squat, deadlift, or overhead press, all these sorts of things, which is really heavy on the spine. I think Gen Pop, split stance work, anything putting in side lying is just big bang for buck.
Probably the only limitation with the exercise is time. If you're constantly, if you got 3 split stance exercises in the program, it's double the reps basically because you got to change sides. But
depending on your assessment too. So if you get someone that just specifically needs more flexion or something on one side, you can just hang out there for the whole session on that one side. And you can put them into their bilateral rolling or pressing from there. So it sort of comes back to your assessment, what you found. Last person. Big exercise.
This is more personally, obviously, because I haven't programmed for clients.
Are they overhead squats? Please tell me it's overhead squats.
No.
Oh, okay.
Just following the program that I've been doing, my favourite at the moment is doing those sprinter knee rockers. They absolutely kill.
Yep.
But they get that posterior tilt. My abs, I've never turned your abs on that hard before for me. So it's definitely a whole experience. So
I don't think Brayden's experienced this yet.
I don't know.
So instead of just normal, I'm not doing it. It kills. I barely get it. I barely get through it. But instead of it's split with your legs. So you just have one knee up at your chest, and then one at 90.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then lifting, peeling the tailbone off to...
Yeah.
So it's our traditional knee rocker, but it's going back to the split stance, getting that bit of asymmetrical positions with your lower body.
And it just,
it's amazing how much it works.
Feel so many things, working as you're going. It absolutely kills. But, for me, with my hips, I'm not... don't have that much going on. So, it definitely helps me.
That's interesting.
We'll play with them later on.
You do both sides? Just one?
Both sides,
both. Yeah. And you'll pick
and you'll feel
where you want to try and hike, and
Oh,
where you're trying to squeeze, and what obliques do and what really quickly. Hands down the floor to start. If you really suck there, go and grab a pole above head. Use a bit of Latin as well.
It's hard,
It's quite fun to watch.
But no, it's good, and you can feel as soon as that pelvis just wants to tilt, you're just you can. It's like a self-assessment as you're going through it. It can be very apparent. So loving, hating that one, but
cool. Love hate's always good.
Yeah.
All right, who wants to jump into biggest disappointment of 2023? As we said before, pretty much opened up Instagram, and it's just
Broncos losing.
Broncos. Oh, nice. Yeah, well, we did discuss that. So Broncos, disappointing. What about actually, exercise, training related?
I didn't really have anything. It was probably just influences.
Love a good influencer. There are some good ones out there
but
that have
credibility.
Steroid.
Yeah. Come on, half-naked people that take steroids are definitely knowledgeable, educated, great to listen to.
That's their credible. Their credibility is the size of their tricep. That's my qualification. Shaun's tricep.
I'm very credible.
So just keep doing tricep push downs.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's all.
That's all you got?
No,
Just
it's a shame that people that are accredited or qualified and experienced can't make their content as pretty as the ones that like just take steroids and they haven't quite figured out that game yet.
Yeah.
So there's just people
The
don't
aesthetic.
accidentally fumble upon good content, but people accidentally fumble upon the lesser.
Yeah.
I think it's because the good ones spend more time being good at what they do rather than trying to self-promote and give all the glitz and glamour.
Yeah.
Oh, are you ready for my biggest disappointment? Overhead squats as assessment tools
Oh.
should not be used. It's more of a core control, stability, shoulder flexion thing. Just don't use them as an assessment tool. My other big bang disappointment for the year is table assessments. We've discussed this a lot lately. So my big issue with a table assessment is we're assessing a human in a horizontal plane on a surface that's fully supported. So there's a force pushing on the back of the rib cage, a force pushing on the back of the pelvis. Yep. Which does change the dynamics of movement. And then we go and isolate a joint and move it through a range of motion and go, that's related to someone standing up, fighting gravity, feet on the ground, actually going to move. So my big disappointment is table assessments.
Yeah.
They have a place. Unfortunately, it's part of the industry. I think it's probably in the same category as BMI.
Mm-hmm.
We use it because there's nothing else to use.
Mm-hmm.
If there was another quality assessment tool that gave us the same results that we could use to confirm our other assessment protocols, we'd probably go and use it.
Yeah.
But we just don't have it at the moment. So that's your job for next year, Brayden.
To what?
To develop a
They're trying to get rid of
modality.
Forever.
Yeah, that's right.
Good.
Yeah.
Just
Can I
get
retire
rid
right now?
Sorry.
Can I retire after that?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, if you take all the steroids, get nude on Instagram, and you've got a great methodology, you're done.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Link in bio.
I've been doing it wrong.
A link in
all my
bio.
life.
Lincoln bio.
That's terrible.
Ah,
Sponsored by.
Yeah, no, it's
They're just trying to use waist circumference now. In uni, that's what they.
Waist circumference.
That's it. There's no BMI, nothing. It's
Really?
just your waist circumference.
yeah, wow. Okay.
they're still going about those mesotypes and stuff.
Yeah.
Too. Like,
And I think all of it kind of has some relevance somewhere along the path. The problem is they pick one tiny little aspect and they build it into
Inflate
this
it.
massive thing,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't really fit anymore.
yeah.
All right, biggest takeaways 2023. I'm going to throw a controversial one out there. You've actually heard this from someone else. It's something I've actually followed for a long time. It sounds terrible, but once you understand the meaning behind it, it's not terrible. So it's not the coach's responsibility to get clients' results.
That was big though. Like hearing that.
Yeah.
It's a big relief off my shoulders. Basically.
It's our responsibility to be super smart, know what we're doing, implement good programs, write great programs, monitor, track, assess, and all the other stuff. But at the end of the day, we can't force that person to get results because they're here for an hour.
And some of them don't even come here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you want results from someone, but they don't get themselves here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort to be a good coach, and sometimes the payback from the client's just not there. And we all know what it's like to try and drag someone through a session.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
How much responsibility do you think we have to make our approach as accessible to the client as possible, though? So within that, if we have this strict, super smart, super reliable, super predictable protocol, how much of it is our responsibility to get that protocol to a level which our clients can actually access and complete successfully, and the steps that are bite-sized enough that it is something that they can actually take on?
Oh, I think that's the art of coaching, right there.
Yeah.
In that one thing. One of the first things ever told to me, think scientists, talk trucking. So you have to think at the biggest, highest level, but then bring it back down to this tiny little thing that the client just jumps into and does. But that's 100% the art of coaching.
Yep.
No one wants to, I hate trying to talk technical to clients because they just don't get it. They don't really care. They just
They
want to be
don't
told
really
what
want
to do.
get it.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, even the ones that ask still don't really understand. Like they ask because they want to, but
Yeah.
it's got to be plain simple terms.
Yep.
And, I get this sometimes with that, like especially if they do ask, and then I'll explain the way that I
You'll start
know.
over explain it.
Yeah, and then just catch myself doing that. They're drifting.
Being too smart.
Yeah. Well,
See the
definitely.
eyes glaze over.
As soon as they start to yawn after 3 words, just stop.
It's that eye change from looking at you to the bottom of my floor.
Or as they walk away.
Yeah.
Can I start doing my exercise now?
Yeah, rest is over.
My other biggest takeaway for 2023 is increasing neck mobility or range of motion by watching the arm as you do a bicep curl.
That's doable.
That's big money. Yep.
I don't know if we've got
Haven't
time
heard
to
that
dive
one.
into that, but that's interesting.
So it's, the short answer is as you turn the head towards that arm, you're actually lengthening that tissue
Oh yeah.
through there.
Yeah.
So we're looking at trying to relieve neck tension, increase some range of motion somewhere. If you're in a bicep curl, because we know the bicep is actually a proximal stabilizer for the shoulder, and as we're turning here, we're linking that tissue out, and you actually get some range of motion back in the shoulder and relieve neck tension.
Right. Interesting.
Fancy.
What about someone that's jammed up through SCM?
Anyone do we know that uses SCM for lots of things?
Stand. We're looking at stand.
Yeah, definitely stand with no tissue. Or the person sitting just close to stand.
It's not sure.
I know.
So why would someone have big SEMs? What's part of the reason?
What'd you tell me the other day?
So why do we actually, when we give
Too
you
tense.
lying down, why do I elevate your head up so you can't create tension through your neck? Because in part you're one of our rectus people. You like to
It
pull
just
with rectus and pull that rib cage down, and then this is trying to grab and hold on, because if you just do that, you pull too far forward. So the neck's trying to create some stability for the fact that you use rectus a lot. So as we do some of the corrective exercises, we elevate your head up, take these muscles out of the equation, which this doesn't have to create as much leverage then.
Yeah, interesting.
Maybe we just, like on Leah's program, she'll just write SCM.
I like putting a little block under my head, it's a nice pillow. Yeah.
Nah.
Anyone else has got some big takeaways for 2023?
Mine was quite similar to yours. Mine was that getting a client doing fewer things well is better than a very complicated process they can't do. That was, and getting people to do the things is probably more important than what things they do, to a degree.
Love that.
That's big though, like going, like beginning in the industry, because I was coming from being a client to that. Clients they want the cool stuff, but as long as, for me as a coach now, as long as it's measurable and like you said, bite-sized steps and all that, that's okay for me. But for the client, they want to go from kettlebell RDLs to 80 kilo trap bar deads, straight away. And it just doesn't really, it correlates, but it doesn't. It's a big jump.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's big for client buy-in.
Yeah. You're better off having a program with 3 exercises that they do really well than a program with 10 exercises they just sort of half-ass their way through.
Yeah.
And not all clients have the athlete's mentality that we assume they have had until you start working with people, and okay, people aren't all broken like we are. We got to scale. We got to adjust some things. Like,
come on, yes, people are all broken. If they're not, I've got nothing to live for.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway was, if there's no pain, and basically they're not trying to be an elite athlete, I'll work within their bias and not really correct them.
Yeah.
Because if there's no pain, I'm not worried about bringing
If there's no risk of injury somewhere down the track, then just... And what you find is the fact they're in training and doing things, and you put that little bit of, if you want to call it corrective work in there every now and then, generally they start to steer away from their bias anyway, or just the cueing of just find both feet, or don't pull your toes up when you do this, or don't push your toes down. They just naturally start to find that anyway.
It's like, if they're not an elite athlete, I now, looking at it, don't see the need to put them under a barbell. Like, I don't see the need to take them off a slant board.
Yeah.
Unless it's really a goal for them. But I'm just gonna kettlebell goblet squat the crap out of them.
Well, here's his question for you. What's the definition of an elite athlete?
Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
So my definition of elite athlete is someone that derives income from their chosen sport.
Yeah.
And if you walked around 99% of gyms, how many elite athletes are there? Despite the ones that think they're elite.
Minimal.
Very few. Yeah, very few.
Yeah, they're normally
Influences.
Influencers. You have some very highly skilled athletes. Doesn't necessarily mean they're elite. They might have aspirations.
the elite ones tend to find themselves in more metropolitan areas anyway.
It's a big word.
It is a big word. It starts with M too.
It does. Thanks for that.
Metropolitan.
Can you spell it?
No.
Now, before we finish up, do you want to demonstrate any of your glute exercises?
Come on.
No.
Come on.
No.